Welcome to part 2 of this name portrait brush project using PHOTOPEA. So we're looking for something like this in the end goal. I'm going to go back to the beginning of this. You should have a picture of yourself saved. And you want to crop it. So like I was careful to make sure mine was mostly my head, but you don't want to have a bunch of space, no more than what I have over your head. And your head needs to take up a good chunk of this. So it shouldn't be waist up or knees up, but basically, you know, here up, no more than that. So crop it down. And then the other thing is I am in PHOTOPEA right now, and PHOTOPEA doesn't do well with really huge images. If I go to view right now and say pixel to pixel or press Control 1, this is how big my picture is. Wow, let's not look at me. Okay, so we definitely don't need this to be this big to work on it. I'm going to go to Image and Image Size, and we're going to kind of do this after you crop. So crop it first, and then go to Image and Image Size, and see, like, we don't need 3,000, 2,000. I say really no more than 1,000 on that, the longest side would be enough. It's kind of really up to you. I usually actually make my short side, so my width, I'm going to make that 1,000. And then press Tab so that it changes it for the other. So 1,000 by 1,300, that's not bad. You really don't need it bigger than that, though, because PHOTOPEA can't really handle it well. Press OK. Now pixel to pixel, here's the size. So see, I could even go smaller if I wanted to. I'm going to press Control minus and zoom out though. Okay, so now we're ready for the next step, which is we want to make this be grayscale. You can't change the color mode in PHOTOPEA like we can in Photoshop. So instead, we're going to go to Image and Adjustments, and we're just going to go to black and white. And you can like mess with this if you want to change like the contrast or whatever of it, you know, as you're going here. You know, so whatever you want, press OK, and now it's black and white. So now again, everything we've done has been destructive to the picture. We're not doing anything on separate layers yet. And we're even going to select ourselves and not do that on a separate layer either. So, you know, if you're watching this before you do the video, you want to take a picture on a simple background. So this next process is really easier. Like go out and do it in front of a wall. Okay. So I'm going to select my subject. I personally like the quick selection brush. You can just go in and select a little bit of your person. See, that selected pretty well. It's kind of missing some of the hair, but you're going to go into Refine Edge to add that in. So I'm going to go to Refine Edge. Going to take a look at it. You know, honestly, this doesn't look bad at all. If there are undefined areas, you take the gray and then like see this area here that's kind of weird. I'm going to make my brush a little smaller. I'm just going to kind of paint in the hair part there. That's undefined. And that'll fix it a little bit. And then these parts that are out here, I could take a black brush and just be like, okay, but not that far out. And there you go. See, that got rid of that. This is kind of, it's weird in PHOTOPEA. You have to like deal with the edges in here. You have to use these buttons, but you look at it over on the right. Okay, this looks pretty good. Again, it doesn't have to be like perfect, because this is all going to be artsy anyway. Now, we don't want to put it out on a layer mask. We want to put it on its own layer, again, which is destructive. It's going to delete the background. So make sure you're good with this before you hit OK, because the background's going to be gone. So if you're missing an ear or something, like that's not good news, okay? All right, new layer, OK, bam. Now we're ready to go. Now we're kind of ready to start the actual project. So that's sort of the setup. Now we've already made the brush, should have made the brush previously. If you're on the same computer where you created the brush, it should be there. I suggest doing this all in one swoop so that you know for sure you don't lose your brush. Because, you know, if you're on a Chromebook or something, you know, do all this at one time rather than like one day and then the other. But the brush should stay there. So I'm going to come down here to my brush size and go down and find my name. And there it is. My name is really big because I had a really big picture and I didn't resize that one. So I'm going to use my bracket keys here if I can ever get a hold of it. There we go. And size that down. All right. So steps are, and again, there's written steps too, but this hopefully just helps you out. You need your layers panel open. So window and layers. I want to make sure I can see my layers, and here they are. So I've got my layers open. Your original document is down here, but we just need this one. So I've got my original document here. I've got my brush, and I want to make sure that it works. But if I were to use it right now, and I'm going to undo this, but if I were to use it right now, it just looks like that. And that's not what we want. We want it to jump around. So we're going to open up the brush panel, window brush. That's over here. And you can see under my window brush, and my layers is in the way, so let me turn that off. Or don't let me turn it off. I got to close one of these to make it go. I'm not sure how my layers panel got undocked, but okay, cool. All right, so here's my brush. So right here where it says Tip Dynamics, what we want to do is we want to make the tip move around. So you're going to click on Tip Dynamics, and down here at the bottom is a preview. So you're going to increase the jitter, which makes it move around more. Change the diameter, which makes some of them big and some of them small. And then the angle turns and see, here's where it starts like looking kind of like a centipede down here, like a fuzzy thing. That means we're rotating it around. You can also mess with scatter. Notice that's like way too much. I usually put my scatter way down, but see, scatter is going to spread those words out instead of them connecting like a normal brush. Now that's hard to deal with sometimes because it jumps around a lot. So you might want to skip that part. But I'm going to go ahead and just have a little bit of scatter, but you don't want a lot. Because wherever you point your brush, it's not going to be precise if you have a scatter on. So if that's going to mess you up, just turn it off. I'll just turn it off so it's easier to see. Okay, so we've got this on here. Now, we're not going to be using a black brush because we're going to be using it on a layer mask. So I'm going to click on my layer. Sorry, I had to move my stuff around. So you're going to click on the layer and then click on the button at the bottom to add the layer mask. So I'm adding my mask. It's white. In our case here, though, we need the mask to be black because we want to hide our person so that we can paint them in. So you're going to click on the white box, the layer mask, go to Edit, Fill, and Black. All right, so now you disappear. That's okay. That's supposed to disappear. You're going to paint in white. So down here at the bottom, I always call these the baby squares. Click the baby squares to reset. White on top, black on bottom. If you need black, you just hit the arrows to switch. So I got my white on top, and now I'm just going to like click and hold and see how now my brush isn't brushing the way it was before. So as I'm doing it, it's kind of like, you're just kind of like, wow, there's like kind of crazy business going on there, right? So you're going to kind of rough it out, get your person kind of in there, paint it in a bit. Not all the way, because we want parts of it to just kind of look like they're hanging out. And if you let go every now and then, you know, your brush will change angles. Now, so over here, I'm out of hair, right? I've gone as far as I can go. I've painted my whole person back in. So I'm going to switch to black, and then I can go back in these areas and kind of like, you know, when you click, see how it's adding my name, and you can actually tell that it's my name. Now, it's not always showing exactly where I clicked because it rotates based on those settings that we set, right? So now if I'm not clicking and dragging, if I'm just clicking and then letting go and clicking and letting go, my brush is rotating through. Now, you're not going to want your brush to stay that big all the time, right? So again, I'm going to switch it back to white so I can paint some of this back in. So just use your bracket button to make your brush smaller. And then again, as you start adding things in, we want your name to show from time to time. Like we want parts of your name to show. So you're just going to kind of have to back and forth go, you know, making it black, making it white, adding in your name, sometimes dragging, sometimes just stamping almost, but it's going to rotate it around so it won't look completely like, you know, whatever. Oops. I'm going to switch it back again. Anyway, you just kind of play with that until you want it. Again, modifying the size every now and then so you get whatever kind of size that you want. But I always like to have one that's like straight up, you can tell it's my name in a couple of places. So like, you know, there's my name, there's my name, there's my name. And we're not painting, right? We're masking. So we're hiding parts of it. All right. Once you're done with that, the next step is you're going to add a background. If you want, I mean, you could export it right now as a PNG with a transparent background. Or you can create a layer. And you can go up to Layer, New Fill Layer, and create a color layer or a gradient. Color is pretty self-explanatory. Pick a color. I'm going to go to gradient just to be different. When you click on the little gradient icon, again, my layers thing keeps getting in the way, and I don't know why. We'll just make it smaller here. When you click on this, you can choose to have a radial where it goes inside out, and you can make it bigger or smaller. And when you click on here, you can choose your colors. So let's say I'll make one side, I'll go kind of reds this time. We'll do like a pink. And then the other side, maybe a lighter pink. There. I like it to just be like really super subtle. Okay. And again, there is a button to switch those. You can't see mine right now. There is a button to reverse them. So if you wanted to go that way, you could go that way. All right. Anyway, the layer doesn't matter. The mask part or the radial gradient part doesn't matter. You can do whatever you want. Now drag that layer so it's down below the other layers. There we go. Bam. And you can stop there. Or your final steps would be two things that I like to do. You can add a levels adjustment just to really increase the contrast of it at the top. So click on your top layer, hit your adjustment layer button and go to levels. And then again, this little box here, you're going to pull your black layer in. See how that makes things darker. And you can also pull your white layer out if you wanted to. If you wanted to change that white level. Okay, and you can do whatever you want here on that. All right, so pulling this one back out here, the last thing would be to click on the layer of you and modify the blend mode. And I think these look cool. So you come up here where it says normal on your layers panel. And then you can try different ones. So like multiply, screen's going to go light, so that won't work because I have a light background. But if you had a dark background, it might. So you can kind of play with all these different ones and see what works. Because I have a light background this time, the darkened ones are going to be better because it will darken my picture. But if you have a dark background, a lightened one is going to be better. And so there's different types of things you can do. I like that linear burn. I think that looks pretty cool. And you could even modify, your opacity a little bit if you wanted it to be a little bit see-through or whatever. Go back into those levels if you want to modify your levels so that, the black parts are darker, or whatever. You could do any of those things as well. I think I'm going to, yeah, there we go. All right, excellent. That's pretty much it. When you're done, at that point, you're ready to export it out. But that is, in a nutshell, a very quick and easy project. Taking a picture of you, your name into a brush, and creating something that looks pretty cool.